Hello, Las Positas. Summer School 2012, Philosophy 2, Introduction to Ethics. I'm your instructor, April Fairweather. Mostly just introducing myself here. Since we're online, I thought it'd be nice to give some sense of real faces and names and sounds to the words that we see on the screen. And I'll try to do this from time to time. You'll also see that on the study guide, which I've posted, there's a number of audio clips from me. This is full audio and video. Those are mostly audio, but I will try to pass along real-time communication or something like that from time to time to add to our experience. So here I'm really just going to give a little bit of overview. The main thing to be looking at now is that there's a schedule of readings and assignments up on Blackboard. That's under course materials. Really, that's the main place to go for almost everything for the class, course materials. And I'll leave, oh, you might hear my dogs in the background. I have a little puppy, so she's noisy, amongst other things. So I've got the schedule of our readings and assignments really for the whole term there. Since it's a short term, we need to jump right into it. And certainly you should go start taking a look at that if you haven't. There is a discussion board assignment that is up and ready for you. That's the first thing to make sure you turn in. Go ahead and click on the discussion board. You'll see that tab to your left. Go check out the directions left there. And, you know, that's a pretty open-ended kind of assignment, at least in the sense that I'm not looking for right and wrong answers. It's not really that kind of assignment. I can still distinguish between like better and worse submissions, but it won't be on the basis of there being correct or incorrect answers. Rather, that they're more or less fully developed, thoroughly developed, analytically substantive, thoughtful, thorough, that kind of thing. So that's really the name of the game there, is to give some kind of sustained, thorough analysis of whichever topics that you're addressing. And in general, that's kind of the name of the game for the discussion assignments. Not so much testing right and wrong, but still looking for thoroughly developed, sustained analysis. Not bumper stickers or just kind of mere opinions that strike you. That might be a place to start, but really looking beneath the surface thoroughly, going as far as you can into the analysis of the concepts, arguments, and issues that underlie your general reaction or your general positions. So go ahead and get started on that if you haven't. As you'll see there, there's a very nice website for Michael Sandel, and he is the author of the main textbook that we're using. And it's really nice that there's this, his whole class at Harvard using this book, and they also use like a reader of core readings. Because this is such a short term, we're not doing that. But it's a great resource. The Michael Sandel Justice website has his really very wonderful lectures and discussion at Harvard, and we can see the discussion with the students that they get into. Lots of really nice real life examples. He does a great job of making this complex material accessible, but not not sacrificing the rigor and depth of the material. So I'd really recommend checking as much of that out as you can. And you know, ideally, you would kind of time checking in with those online lectures as we go through the relevant chapters in different weeks, so that you're just kind of keeping up with the reading, as well as checking in with those online lectures that Sandel has. They're really quite nice. I think you'll learn a lot. He's huge in Asia, and particularly in China, and I've seen him on a number of TV shows, and this whole thing that he's doing with this book and the website. And as you'll see at the end of the book, he's got his own mission that he's kind of on, kind of renewing, reinvigorating public debate, trying to re-emphasize the importance of values other than market values. And we'll see that comes into the chapters, and I think it's pretty interesting. So there it is. Let me just kind of go over, I guess, a couple other points. Actually, as I'm looking here right now on our schedule of reading and assignments, I'm noticing a typo from a different class. I have in weeks, the last 2 weeks of class, I just am noticing that. So I'll change that right now. Gosh, the dogs are going crazy. Ah! Okay, this too will pass. Yeah, so maybe I'll just say briefly what we're going to, one of the things that we'll focus on throughout the class are different kinds of moral theories, for sure. We're going to get libertarianism, Kantian deontology, Aristotelian virtue theory are really the main traditions in moral theory that we'll be looking at. And indeed, we call those the big three in ethics. Utilitarianism, John Stuart Mill and Jeremy Bentham. Deontology, Kant and others that follow him. Kind of a duty-based rather than consequence-based philosophy. And then there's Aristotle's virtue theory, which focuses on virtues of character and excellence of character rather than right or wrong particular actions. Sandel presents these as a slightly different, but really pretty much the same trio of welfare, meaning consequences in terms of well-being. That's the kind of welfare he has in mind. Not the kind of welfare that you get from the government, but welfare in terms of whether or not your happiness or well-being is being promoted or diminished. Also freedom and liberty, which is really a very different kind of moral basis than the concern for well-being as the fundamental concern in morality. Rather, we might say, the most important concern is that of liberty or freedom. Happiness comes about through the proper exercise of your freedom, perhaps, but maybe not. And it's not really the role of the government, some people say, or even morality, to try to guarantee your happiness. You have to do that. But it is a matter of morality to guarantee your freedom or to protect your freedoms, perhaps to pursue happiness or other worthy ends, if indeed there are other worthy ends in addition to happiness. That itself, I think, is an interesting question. But importantly, that's a very different kind of moral reason to say that freedom is the basis of moral arguments and moral considerations. It's reasons based on freedom and liberty that we cite in moral arguments and moral deliberation, as opposed to saying that it's considerations of utility, of consequences for maximizing the happiness of society. Things like that are moral reasons as well. There are different kinds of moral reasons that we can also cite in moral arguments and moral debates. And now we've got at least two really different kinds of moral reasons that we can give in moral analysis, in our moral thinking about our own life and its impact on others. We have at least these two really different kinds of reasons. So for any particular moral issue, we'll have to figure out, well, what kind of moral reason is appropriate here? Does this call for a moral reason based on utility? Or does this call for a moral reason based on liberty? What happens when these moral reasons conflict? Which one takes priority or precedent over the other? Will they conflict? They will. We'll see. The trolley case right at the beginning shows us that, I would think. And then a third kind of moral reason is in virtues, in things, habits, dispositions of character that are praiseworthy in themselves. We praised honesty, we praise open-mindedness, we praise conscientiousness. There's features of our personality that we praise and want to cultivate and honor We might honor these with specific kinds of rewards, monetarily or with opportunities, but we also might honor certain kinds of character traits through admission to a university or by getting a certain kind of position within government. Because let's say the kinds of virtues and character that we want to honor in the military sphere of government. There are certain kinds of character traits that the military seeks to honor, cultivate, reward, and have manifested in that part of society. And those will be different from the kinds of character traits that and personality features that we would want to honor, cultivate, reward in education. So that's now a third kind of moral reason that he calls virtue. Quite often we'll see that there are moral reasons that we're responding to that are neither based on welfare and consequences, nor are they based on freedom and liberty, but rather are based on this concept of virtue. What is a virtuous person? What kinds of particular virtues do particular social institutions really connect to or serve or are served by? Okay, so that's kind of a broad overview of the book as a whole, the main kinds of moral theories, moral considerations, or as we might say, moral reasons that might be invoked in any given moral issue. And we can approach any issue from all or more than one of these kinds of reasons. So that makes moral analysis complex. It also means that moral analysis also leads us into dilemmas, where one kind of moral reason that we give will conflict with a different kind of moral reason that we give in terms of deciding what the proper outcome or decision should be. So that is a common feature of our moral life, is that we get conflicting reasons, conflicting intuitions, and then we really have to do some deliberation. Okay, so that's, I think, the big picture in terms of the main issues in play in Sandel. There's lots and lots of smaller issues. I would really recommend getting into the reading. I think getting through, chapters 4 and 5 as soon as you can, really. They're not super long chapters. There's some complexity in it, but I think it's pretty accessible. And I hope it's enjoyable. I think the examples that Sandel gives are generally quite nice. So, gosh, do I have anything else to say here? I don't know if I really do at the moment. I'll probably chime in with a couple more things here. We'll be having, as we see here, our first quiz. Not this week, but next week. And yeah, take a look at the schedule. I'll send out a couple more video kind of things just to give a little bit of life to the online environment. But I really just wanted to introduce myself here and give some kind of big picture introduction to some of the main ideas. The best thing to do, I think, is just to jump into it. It's summer, so just like you jump into the pool, jump into the reading, jump into the class. It goes quickly. And I am now looking at this one little thing in the schedule I need to fix up. So please do let me know if you see other things like that. In an online class where everything's typed up, typos happen. All right, well, it was nice to meet you, and talk to you later.